ahead to go to TinkerCad. So there is over here a model of the 3D Thymio. I'm going to go ahead and click. I'm going to go ahead and right click. Let's see. And I'm going to select duplicate and tinker. I want all of you guys to select duplicate and tinker. That way we still have this to work off of. So we're making a copy of this to work off of. So this is actually a real 3D model of the real robot. So it actually has the insides of the robot if you wanted to kind of explore it. It's a really large file, so sometimes it takes a little bit to actually load. So when it actually comes up, there it is. So over there, there's the 3D robot. Now, with your mouse, to turn the robot, you're going to use the right click, and drag. This allows you to rotate. In order to zoom in and out, we have a wheel, and we're going to go in and out, and this helps us zoom in and out. Also in TinkerCad, there are these buttons over here that allows you to turn around. This house will bring you to a nice normal view. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Whoops. You can turn it in different axes. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this so this robot is looking at me exactly 180 degrees. Now what I notice is this robot is actually off the ground. This little arrow, if I click it and I put it down, I can make sure that, oops, I put it underneath the world. So I'm going to go over here. So 3D modeling is kind of tricky because I'm working in a 3D space on a 2D monitor. So sometimes, depending on my view, it looks different than it actually is. So there we go. I've got my robot on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and save this. So if I wanted to create a bunny, I have a few different options. So I'm looking at my bunny, and it looks like my bunny has a tail. So I have a few different options of I can go ahead and add a sphere. So I can click the sphere and drag it into this world, and I can put it about where I think the sphere should go. So I'm using the right click to drag it around to make it smaller. You're going to notice these white little boxes. Now, in order to make the circle not warp into an egg shape, I have to hold down Shift. Shift will keep the proportions of the shape the same. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to click this right little square, and now I can grow it real big or grow it real small. So I'm going to go ahead and grow it on the smaller side. Now I'm going to pull it up. I have to look at it from different angles. And then, see, I accidentally misshaped it. I can click and move it to where I want it to be. So, there's two kinds of ways of dragging it. If I drag it like this, then it'll be fine. If I start messing with this, then when I drag it, it'll be wrong. Okay, so don't click those white squares. You have to make sure you're not clicking the right squares. If you make a mistake, you can hit Command Z, and it's going to undo the last thing that you did. Okay, so I just hit Command Z as an undo. So I've got here, you can also, if this is selected, you can also use your arrow keys. So right now I'm hitting the up arrow. I can hit the down arrow, the right arrow, the left arrow to move this around to be on my robot. So your arrow keys are going to move it around on this plane, and this moves it up and down. So this is what you need to know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Oops, I made that mistake. What button did I have to press? Shift. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and now it's always a sphere. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, click it, and work on my object. Now it'd be really nice to have bunny ears. Okay, so there are different things. There's components, connectors. I can look for the shape that best matches my bunny. I think what actually happens here, if I remember this correctly, they just happen to have a bunny ear here. Okay? So I'm going to actually go over here and use this bunny ear because why not? So I'm going to go ahead, put my bunny ear over here. Watch this. I'm going to right click this now. Remember how I was able to undo Command Z? I'm actually going to Command C, Command V, which actually copied and pasted this part. So I'm going to move this over, and now I need to turn it to be like this. So I'm going to go ahead. Do you see this little arrow? This allows me to rotate my bunny ear a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, use my arrows, and move my bunny ears here. If I wanted to change the colors, okay, so they have a bunny that is yellow and red. I can go ahead and I can make this yellow by clicking this color, clicking yellow, clicking this one, and clicking yellow. If I wanted to do what they have and have the red on the inside, I can start to be creative. What I can do is I can Command C, Command V, make this smaller by holding Shift. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring this a little bit ahead by pressing the arrow key, a little bit to the side, and turn this red. Okay? So there I have the inside of the bunny ear. And I can do the exact same thing over here. So I could either do the same process with the right ear, or I can Command C, Command V, move this over with my arrow key, and then go ahead and rotate it and move that to the right position. Okay? So here I have my nice little funny bunny. Now, let's say I wanted to do something else. I want to have a reason so I can show you. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something fun. And I want the shape of a star in the back, except I want the shape to be that, like the shape is like a stamp. So I don't want the star to be outside. I want it to be like someone cut out a star out of here because I want to show you something interesting that you can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the star. Actually, I'm going to take the heart. I like the heart. I'm going to take the heart. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to need to flip it up by using these arrows. I'm going to get it closer to where I need it to be. Use this arrow to pull it up. Hold down, use the Shift to make my heart smaller. Okay, I'm going to pull that up. And I'm going to make this back. All right. So it's almost what I want, except I don't want it to come out of the sphere. I want it to go in. And the way to do this is I'm going to select my sphere. The way to do this is I'm going to select my heart, and I have an option here. I can either make it a color, and that will make it a solid object, or I can make it a hole. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to make it a hole. Now that's interesting. Now it's a hole, but it's not removing that space from that sphere. So what I'm going to have to do is group them together, and by saying the sphere minus the heart, I'm going to have a sphere with the heart shape subtracted. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to first zoom in so I don't press anything by accident. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to press the sphere. I'm going to press the heart. And when both of them are selected, I'm going to go over here to group. Now I'm going to look at that. So now I don't have that red heart anymore. It is literally that sphere with the heart subtracted. Okay? So there you have it. We have created this 3D model, and I'll be able to import it into RobotMagic. Would you like to see that happen? Yeah. Okay. So I may or may not be able to do this successfully. This is the part that we're working on, so you might have to be a little bit patient. So in order to import this into RobotMagic, the first thing I have to do is click this Thymio. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save as design, and I'm going to go ahead and say save, and under properties, I want to rename this to Thymio Bunny Costume. And I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the Thymio model because RobotMagic already has a Thymio model, so we don't need it. And this Thymio model has, it uses a lot of memory. And we already have a Thymio model, so we only want the costume. Okay? So now that I have my pretty costume, I'm going to go over here to Design and Download for 3D Printing. And the one that I want is this .vrml colors. So I'm going to go ahead, select that one, and I've just started downloading that. I'll be sharing the address with you. But here's where we need to be. And I'm going to take my model and I'm going to drag it over here to start uploading the costume. Oops, there's my costume. So I can see where it falls, and I'll be able to recenter it where it needs to be. And once I recenter it and add in the correct offset and such, I'm going to make this actually a -20. And I need to name my file. So I'm going to call it Bunny. And I'm going to go ahead and upload. So now I'm going to go to, so now I'm going to go to back over here, and instead of adding the cat, I'm going to go ahead and add the bunny. Hit submit, hit start. I see my bunny. Okay, so it's hard to see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the rest of the stuff for right now and hit start. So the reason why the bunny is not moving with the robot is because I have to place the bunny on the bot. So there it is. Right now, you're right, the robot is kind of small. So I need to go over here, and the bunny was scaled to scale 5. We want a scale 1. Okay, so now what it would take is we would just have to orient it and position it to go on my bunny. And then so I'd be able to take my bunny, basics, robot, let's see, configure, go to, the Z I'm going to make it go down, -10. Okay, so I would play with that a little bit more until I got it right, and then I could build a bunny world and import that. So the bunny costume and the bunny world should be 2 different files. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. You guys can get started.